What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rays, and today we're looking into a Tiny Tina Wonderland video as to how you find and beat all three of the secret raid bosses that are currently in the game. Now, overall, these raid bosses are a lot of fun to be able to take part in. Some of them have special mechanics that you do need to be aware of, and obviously some of them help to be able to take down, but others are there to be able to help the battleground that you're going to be surviving on, just to be able to make it a little bit more habitable for you to be able to carry on that fight. So, before we get into it, make sure you drop a like and a subscribe. It took us a little bit of time and a little bit of head scratching to be able to find out how to be able to get this done, but myself and Danwise, we managed to be able to get it all sorted and get it all done, and yeah, this is going to be the footage in the background, so make sure you drop a like and a subscribe, and let's get right into it. So the first one we're going to be needing to be obviously clarify is the fact that there are three different sigils or different like symbols that you're going to be looking around while you do these in the Chaos Dungeon. So as far as I'm aware, it doesn't really matter which run you actually do. The only one that you do need to be aware of is the artisan one, I think it is, the one that says it's tailor-made to yourself. And the reason why you need to do that is because that is a fixed and set run, whereas the others do actually have some randomness to them. And the fixed and set run means that you will actually be able to consistently be able to find the exact same sigils in the exact same locations every single time. The other thing to note of is the fact that these sigils are not 100% guaranteed to be in every single level, and it's definitely something that you need to be able to keep an eye out open for them as well. The other thing is the fact that these sigils do not spawn until you finish the level, so it's not like you can go and do this activity while you're like just doing your random fight, obviously staying alive and being able to take on the special sub objectives. You do need to finish the level first, and then obviously when the reward comes up, you need to then look around for the sigil. Now, in my experience, these sigils only spawn fairly close to where you actually have completed the objective, so you don't need to go hunting across the whole map as far as I'm aware. If they are to spawn, they will be in a very short radius of where you've actually just finished and been able to collect your rewards. So we do have three different colours that we need to be able to identify, and obviously each one has its own objective, its sub-objective as to how you're supposed to finish these. Now we do have blue, green and yellow currently, and each one correspond to a different raid boss. Now as far I think you can get all three inside one single run, and that does mean that you do have to fight all three raid bosses, one back to back, one against the other, but just know that you can just do the one and you don't have to bother with the others if that's how you're feeling it. Each raid boss that you do beat, it gives you a nice amount of crystals or moon coins in this case to be able to spend at the end, as long as you do actually make it all the way through. So the first one we're going to look at is the blue sigil. Now the blue sigil was the one that gave us the most difficulty in trying to figure out what exactly we needed to do. This is why it was probably one of the last ones that we kind of figured out, and it's not really that simple unless obviously you playing in a solo game. It probably would make a bit more sense, but when we were playing in a co-op environment, we were genuinely stuck for so long. So the blue sigil, when you activate it, will send off like a little bit of a ray, kind of like a little ball towards a location. When that one hits the floor, it summons a puddle of water, or kind of like a dark puddle of water is probably the best way to do it, and it gives you three orbs, or like fairly close by, but they are elevated to start with. Then from creating that, it will then send off another orb to another location of the same level, and what this will do is it will then create a floating ball of water. What you need to be able to do is go to that first one, the one that doesn't have a ball of water. You stand in there, and if you are doing this in a party, you will need all parties or all character members to be stood on this location to be able to get it to start, to be able to trigger. And when you actually do, one of the orbs, one of the three, will turn into a proper kind of like a gelatinous orb, I suppose is the best way to put it, or a ball of water, and it will start slowly tracking your movement. Now what you need to do is guide that orb all the way to the other side to be able to get to that other location, and then when it gets close and is practically touching, you then shoot it to be able to explode it, and this will turn the ball of water, which was floating initially, into ice, and that will actually count as being done. The few caveats that you do need to be aware of this: obviously these balls can touch the environment, and if they touch the environment they will explode, which means that you've lost one of those orbs. You do have three orbs, so you do have three chances, but if one of them if you lose all three, then obviously you failed this task. The other thing to be aware of, that the Clawbringer is probably one of the hardest ones to be able to bring into this one, and that's because the orbs obviously fly, but you also do have the Wyvern Companion. Now the orbs do not pass through companions, they will get affected by this. They won't instantly explode, but they will try and be able to track it going around them. and this can actually cause them to hit the environment, so just be mindful of that, obviously. The other thing to be aware of, obviously, this gets easier depending on the environment that you're going to be in. So in some cases, if you have quite high elevated kind of peaks and all that kind of thing, you're going to have a little bit more difficulty compared to a flat level. So just be mindful about it, just make sure you plan out your route first, and then start making your way. Now, as far as I'm aware, in terms of like distance, there's no like distance as to when it can't track you anymore. So you can, if it's like a straight line or something like that, you can actually summon the orb, make sure it is actually summoned, which I didn't actually do in the first part of this run, and then you can actually make your way over there, and the orb will slowly start coming towards yourself. So it can be a really nice way to be able to get it to go up slopes and all that kind of thing, and definitely jumping really helps out with that. If you complete the blue orb, this allows you to be able to, at the end of your Chaos Dungeon run, to be able to fight a raid boss called Gloopathoth, Keeper of the Abyss. And Gloopathoth is probably the easiest raid boss out of the three, but is definitely the most fun. And the reason why is because there is a raid mechanic in this one, which allows you to be able to do something very similar with when you first started, and to be able to get to this raid boss in the first place, which obviously involves the blue orbs and being able to shoot them to be able to summon ice balls. If you actually do get one of them, you'll see them periodically around the environments. There will be 3 at a time. If you're able to complete one of those, and you're able to do it, what it will do is it will send the orb into the sky, it will explode, and it will knock Gloopathoth down onto the floor. This makes it so much easier to be able to complete the mission, and obviously just makes them a sitting target for anything that you're planning to be able to do. So definitely the easiest one, but it's definitely so much more fun compared to the other two. But without further ado, let's get into the next one. So the next one we're going to talk about is going to be the green raid boss and the green sigil. So to be able to do the green sigil, obviously you activate this. Similar to how the blue one activates, it will send an orb somewhere out onto the level, and what this will do is it will grow a mushroom. Now, to be able to get this one to trigger, all you need to do is jump on top of the mushroom, and this will then start sending spores into the sky. These spores need to be shot in a certain order. Now, they will be very obvious as to what order you need to do, and all you need to do is shoot the one that's glowing purple. If you shoot the one that's glowing purple, the next one will actually light up purple as well, which means that you shoot that one, and you repeat this until all the spores are gone. Once that round is all done, you do need to repeat this 2 other times, and it will increase in spores each time. So I believe the first one is, depending on how many members are in your party, because I do think it actually increases, it can go from either 3 or 4, I think is the first round, to then 5, to then 6, etc, etc. So it just adds 1 every single round, and you need to do this before they hit the floor. If you do actually fail one of these and the spores actually do hit the floor, then you do the mushroom will move to another location. You are able to try this again. Once you've actually completed 3 rounds successfully with the mushroom, this will actually count as completed, and this will give you access to the green raid boss. So the only caveat with this is this one really depends on the weapons that you're planning to be able to take in with you. So anything that's got like a really long travel time is definitely not ideal. Things like saw blades that get fired at your gun because they have an arc, definitely not worthwhile either. And you definitely want something that has a decent magazine size to be able to complete the whole round, including some of the misses that you're actually going to unintentionally kind of like cause. What this will then do after you'll teleport to a nature arena, and this will summon the raid boss called Barkenstein, which is Keeper of Nature. Now, Barkenstein is a pain in the ass, to be completely honest with you, because the attacks that he has are very powerful, and the arena mechanic is also very strong, depending on if you get caught in it or not. So Barkenstein is kind of like an animal that's able to jump around, and it will attack you in various ways. Now, the two main common ones will be a claw attack, which are very hard to be able to avoid because it covers a long area and it's very quick to be able to start up. Even with increased movement speed of 20%, and I think I had a little bit more with some of my skills, I was still unable to be able to dodge some of these. So just keep in mind you probably are going to get hit at least once or twice in this raid mechanic. But we also do have the one where he jumps into the sky and does like a spin and then lands down. Now this one with movement speed you can avoid. If you are at 100% base movement speed, you might actually get hit by this, which means that you're going to find this boss fight very, very difficult. But at plus 20%, I was able to avoid this attack like more consistently than not, so therefore you actually can dodge this attack in itself. The arena mechanic doesn't have anything to do with like the blue raid, so what this one does is it summons spores, and the spores will slowly descend onto the battlefield. If these hit the floor, what they'll do is they'll create a massive cloud of poisonous kind of area, it's definitely not something you want to be stood in, and it will definitely cloud your vision as well, which makes it very difficult, and it probably keeps you to the outskirts of the whole level, which allows Barkenstein to be able to corner you and be able to do a lot of damage. So try and shoot some of these out of the sky before any of them fall. It's very difficult to be able to get all of these, but if you're able to shoot at least 2 to 3, it definitely makes your life a little bit easier. Barkenstein is definitely, the crit spots are definitely out on the head, and it just takes a little bit of damage, but because it's a red health bar, this means that fire weapons are definitely a must. And this will help you to be able to take down. We were able to, in a clip, take Barkenstein down really quickly with obviously the Buffmeister with Spell Shot with the Ambihextrous kind of glitch that's or kind of abuse that's currently going on at the moment. So just know that you can go into this and do quite a bit of damage, but it will take you a little bit of time, and there's no ammo chests as far as I'm aware, but it will spawn mushrooms, and you are able to shoot the mushrooms to be able to get yourself out of Save Your Soul, and to be able to potentially get a chance of being able to get some ammo drops out of that. Now the last one that we really need to cover is the Yellow Sigil. Now the Yellow Sigil initially at first glance is one of the hardest ones to be able to get done, but as long as you're able to do some really nice burst DPS, you are able to get this done really easily. The one I would recommend is to grab yourself a shotgun, the one that does the Rain of Arrows, and this allows you to be able to put in so much damage and so much splash damage in just a short area, and this will really help you out be able to complete this objective nice and easy. So when you activate the Yellow Sigil, it will send out the spark, or whatever you want to call it, the little orb, that will then teleport it to a place. What this will do is it will then summon a glowing yellow rock, and once the yellow rock is broken, it will then summon kind of like a spotlight, is the best way I can put it. Now, or at least a yellow, like a massive yellow orb. Now, what you need to be able to do is this yellow orb will spin around with like a kind of like a spotlight, and if the spotlight sees you, it will then blind you, and it will do a little bit of damage, and then it will move to another location, meaning that you failed. All you need to be able to do with this one is to be able to inflict as much damage as possible in a short amount of time, to be able to do that before the spotlight sees you. The spotlight will spin around. It's not like it's going to track you or anything like that, so you can actually hide behind cover if you need to, but it will get relatively faster and faster as the time goes on, and if you don't manage to do it, it will then disappear and go to a different location again. So you do need to be a little bit quick when it comes to the damage side of these. Once you've completed it once and you've destroyed it once, that's it. It's nice and simple. It's just pretty much that, and that gets you access to the Bunnied Hog, Keeper of the Sands. I'm probably going to have butchered that name, but Bunnied Hog basically is the biggest spectacle raid boss that we actually have in this game as far as I'm aware. He's definitely probably the hardest one to actually kind of do, but it's a lot of fun to be able to complete. So what Bunnied Hog actually offers is a massive sandy kind of area. It's definitely the biggest one, it's biggest arena out of all three, and he's able to go under the ground and like jump back out of it, similar to like how a Thresher was able to do, if I remember right, from like Borderlands 2 for example. But he's made completely of rock. It's fully armor bar, which means that your poison weapons are going to actually be super effective in this kind of arena. The best critical spot I found is definitely on the head, so just aim for that wherever possible. In terms of raid mechanics in this one, because he's able to move around so much, so quickly and all that kind of thing, you are going to have to do a lot of running, so I definitely would recommend getting a little bit of movement speed onto your class to be able to try and keep up. The other things you're able to do is send out a shockwave through the sand when he dives in and jumps out. This you definitely need to be able to jump over, because this will do a lot of damage and easily knocks you in to save your soul more times than not. And the other thing that is able to do, similar to how the challenge was to be able to gain access to this raid boss, is able to do a spotlight, and this yellow orb, it goes around about the head if I remember right, and what you need to do is inflict as much damage to that orb before that spotlight sees you. If that spotlight sees you, it will blind you for a long period of time, And most of the time, because you are blinded, depending on the attacks that are going to be following, means that you are actually going to enter save your soul. So it's definitely recommended that you try and do as much damage in as little part of time possible, so hit him with everything that you've got at that moment in time. Other than that, if you take that out of it, it's fairly simple, just obviously dodge most of the attacks. Most of the other stuff is relatively easy to be able to get away with. Skeletons will actually spawn in this map, and quite plentiful as well, so it's actually quite kind of easy to be able to get yourself out of save your soul in most of the cases. And yeah, it's just such a pain in the arse this fight, to be honest with you, just because of that blinding mechanic, and it just normally results in you going down. But overall, all three of them are absolutely amazing raid bosses, and I can't wait to see what other sigils we're going to be seeing in the near future. So that is everything that you need to know currently so far when it comes to the raid bosses and their raid mechanics. I hope you've learned something useful with ourselves, and I hope you go out there to be able to try and take on these raid bosses. I've been looking forward to actually trying these at Chaos 20 just to see what their health bars actually do stack up to. But those will be things that I'll definitely be working my way up towards, and those will definitely be things that I'll be testing my future builds on as well. Make sure you have dropped a like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out as much, especially if you've learned something useful with ourselves. We will be covering a lot of Tiny Tina's content going forward, and thank you so much to the Babylonian family, as always, for their continued support. Thank you all so much for watching to the end of this video. As always, keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all in that next video.